Hey, everybody. This is Heavy Art Talk episode 2. I have here Nightmare Imagery. Thank you for joining us. So, a little bit about Nightmare Imagery before we get started. He's worked with bands like Undeath, Church of Disgust, Sanguisugabogg, Worm, and did the recent album artwork for the awesome album by Dryad that just came out in January. Welcome to the show, Nightmare Imagery. How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem at all, dude. I've been a fan of your work for quite some time, and it's nice to see a face to the artwork that I've been following for a couple of years.
Hell yeah. Yeah. As far as like social media goes, I kind of like I don't put myself on there like hardly ever. It's just like this is a portfolio. This is my art, you know what I mean? Kind of just let
Totally.
it speak first for itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
So,
It's always kind of hard knowing like when to put anything roughly personal on like your art page because you're worried
mhm.
that people are just not gonna really care or just kind of even messes with your whole gallery. If people are like looking through your stuff, I get kind of OCD about that too.
Yeah, for sure. Uh I don't know why. It's just that's just how I run things. I've done a couple other interviews though, and it's always fun. So yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, totally, dude. So you're in Iowa City, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Iowa
So
City, Iowa.
nice. And were you pretty much raised there, or you kind of been living there just the last couple of years?
So I was born and raised in Des Moines, which is the capital of Iowa. It's like an
Hmm.
hour and a half away, and I went all through high school there. I went to college there, and then when I graduated, I moved to Iowa City. And that was in 2010.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been here for a little bit now, and yeah, it's my home. I love Iowa City. It's kind
What
of a
What's it like? Yeah.
it's I mean it's a college town. The University of Iowa's here. The Iowa Hawkeyes is like the sports team, and it's like it's a big college. Uh, and so for most of the school, like for the school year, it's 30,000 more people living in the dorms. It goes from being this like very like city of they are trying to market it as the little smallest big city for the arts or something like that. Like there's
Yep.
lots of like various forms of art and entertainment and like culture, but like you know that's kind of because there's all of these students here, and then
Right.
it's the summertime and it becomes this like awesome small town kind of vibe. I don't have a car. I walk everywhere. Nothing's more than like a mile and a half away or something.
Nice.
So yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Athens, Georgia. So I'm in Atlanta, but I spent a number of years in Athens, and it's kind of ebbed and flow in terms of its creative energy, I guess you could say. But it definitely has that
Definitely.
same type of appeal where food and drink is real cheap. They got a couple record stores, but then the
Mhm.
college is definitely what keeps it kind of alive. But then the locals really are the ones who keep the culture going. I love living there. So
Yeah.
similar energy from what I could tell.
Yeah, I mean, just based on that's a really good, a very much more elegant way of what I was trying to say. you know,
Yeah, no, that's cool,
for
man.
sure.
What about like the metal scene then?
So, another thing that I've always really liked about Iowa City is that like the DIY scene is really always been pretty diverse, but like everyone within like the DIY underground supports pretty much everything.
Nice.
And so there's like a wide array of people that are will go out to an indie rock show one night and then a couple nights later come to like a metal show and like or like a punk show in a basement. Like
Sick.
uh I mean, there's Dryad, and Dryad has been around for like 6 years now, something like that. And I mean, they've been the driving force of like, at least like bringing heavy bands here. And other than that, there hasn't been a lot of like metal bands in Iowa City.
Interesting.
Some years ago there was a black metal band called Nether Void, but they haven't been a band for a long time, and like a bunch of those guys moved away. There's a doom band called Seath, but 2 of those guys moved to like the Quad Cities, which is like an hour away. But they still come and play here pretty every so often. They're on Thrill Jockey. They're like a more well-known band, not. But
yeah, that label is a little bit bigger from what I recall. I don't have any releases by them though.
Yeah, I don't know. They get looked over for sure, but they do good doom. But more recently, there's been some stuff happening in Cedar Rapids, which is like a half hour north of Iowa City.
Okay.
It's, I think, the second largest city in Iowa after Des Moines. But there's like never really been much, or like at least us in Iowa City hear about stuff going on in Cedar Rapids. But within the last few years, there's 2 great bands from Cedar Rapids, one called Frontal Assault, and they're thrash, like
I think I've heard of them.
2000s like thrash revival kind of stuff, like Havoc or something, like they're really into Havoc. But they have their own like kind of spin on it. They definitely have some more aggressive vocals. But these are young kids, and they are just like rippers. They can play. And me and my roommate / like partner in crime, Cal from Dryad, just put out the Frontal Assault CD.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, we've been booking shows for a while, and then like kind of within this last year we decided to like put a name on it and like, I don't know, kind of try to do it a little more seriously, get more bands to come through Iowa City. And after that, just like seeing these kids just shred so many times, we're like, we got to do it. We got to like do something else. We I don't know. They're still like, these kids are learning how to do it, and gotta like, let's just put out the CD. I think we did 150 of them, and they're almost gone.
So you're doing like a label, and then you're also helping out with local booking too, and bringing people in.
Yeah, we're doing like promotions for extreme metal shows. And
it's a lot of work. That's pretty awesome.
It can be, yeah. And the second thing we're going to do that's going to come out like next month is another Cedar Rapids band called Ill Omen, and they're great too. It's they say they're thrash, but I feel like it has a lot of the same energy as that like really early death thrash sound, where it's like the thrash band's like just teetering on the edge of being like more extreme.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I think that it's really awesome. Their new album is going to be called March of Decay. Yeah, and that we're going to put that out.
And you say you did have a name for this label?
Yeah, it's called Grim Night Productions. So cool. Cal from Dryad for years did, still does, a distro called Grim Tooth's Very Metal Things.
Cool.
And you know, it's like old school. It's either mail order or you like email for a like catalog list. And it's also we like bring it to shows. When we book a show, we'll like have like a pop-up distro. Just trying to spread the good word of extreme metal, you know what I mean?
Dude, totally. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're lucky in Atlanta. We have we have a couple venues, and then there's a promotion company similar to like what you're doing called a Rippin' Production that Amos, he's the drummer for Deceased, and just recently was on the Father Befoul drummer, but he does a really good job of bringing in a lot of extreme and then really just underground bands. There's this new
Hell yeah.
spot in town. So like in February, March, there's like a show every week I want to go to at least. So it's almost like I got to turn some stuff away, which is kind of a bummer, but they're doing a really good thing.
Yeah, Iowa City's small enough that like I don't know, I don't feel like we could do that. You know what I mean? Like do
Yeah.
a sick show every week or every other week. They need to be spaced out a little bit, especially so we have time for like to put as much as we can into promotion, you know, flyers and sending them out to all the record stores in the state and
Yeah.
you know, trying to get hype behind it just because like you know
Totally.
both me and Cal, like that's when we were in high school we'd see flyers for shows in other parts of the state and you know you can drive an hour and a half to see something sick. It's a good way to connect with people who are nerds about music and will do things like that, you know.
Totally. So let's talk a little bit about art, shall we?
Oh yeah.
So I was just kind of curious, like, are you primarily a self-taught artist, or what's your background there?
Well, I mean, I went to college for art. I went to Grandview University in Des Moines, and I got a bachelor's in visual art. Like they didn't offer a BFA program.
Okay.
But I don't know. I've said it before, and I don't feel like I wish when I went to college, I would have spent more time learning the basics. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I was more got more roped into the like conceptual art and high art kind of ideology behind art and
instead of
I
like the
didn't
technical foundations.
I didn't like representation, you know, like it was more abstract and or like just doodles and it's because it's what I like to do at the time and yeah, I feel like you know I went to school for art but I don't feel like I learned a lot of the just like shit I wish I knew how to do now. Like just like basic like light source shadowing and like perspective and you know so a lot of things I feel like I'm always learning new things just by like seeing something cool and being like how can I do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that kind of realization that you didn't pick up all the things that you wanted in college, is that something that you've been feeling for a while, or is that something relatively recent in terms of like wanting to get a little more into the technical stuff?
See, I don't even know if I would say I want to get into the technical stuff. I think that that's like, I mean, I think that it could maybe benefit my style a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like with what I do, I lean pretty hard into the fact that I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that oftentimes not knowing makes something far more interesting
Unique.
than just I'm looking at an apple and I'm drawing an apple and it looks like an apple. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, I think your art has a definitely like a signature element. Like whenever I see a cover of a t-shirt done, I know pretty quickly that it's done by you. And like that kind of signature is often what a lot of people chase. And then if you do the typical atelier or like art school route, sometimes your stuff loses a lot of that. So I'm totally with you. I'm personally primarily a self-taught artist and illustrator as well. Although
Mm-hmm.
in the last couple of years, I've tried to become more academic, but all doing it on my own. But I totally respect that, kind of carving your own path.
Mm-hmm. When I moved to Iowa City, I did a lot of flyers for shows, mostly DIY shows, but also ones at bars and like actual venues.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like I did like a lot. I think between like 2010 and 2016, I did like 130 or 40 flyers that are
Wow.
documented. And I mean, that's what kind of led into doing commission stuff was, because I was making stuff, I liked the scene. I liked going to shows, and it was a way that I could contribute to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, me and my buddy Joe Millick, who plays bass in Dryad and has been in a bunch of hardcore bands for the last so many years, and had a long running basement here that did shows.
Nice.
He did like more like hardcore punk stuff. He was in a band called Nerve. That's really good, like 80s style, like fast hardcore punk, not like chugga chugga beatdown stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
That's cool.
he
You
had a
did
really
so
great
many
front.
flyers, man.
Yeah.
It's almost like for the
There's
last decade, your work's just kind of synonymous with the Iowa metal scene or Iowa City metal scene. Like that's pretty awesome. I mean, if you're doing that
I
many,
mean,
then
not all of those were metal. They were like all
yeah.
sorts of stuff. You know what I mean? There was like
Oh,
noise
neat.
shows. There's indie rock. There's acoustic stuff. Like it was just like if someone needed a flyer, I'd pretty much say yes. And most of the time they were just, improvised.
Still hand illustration.
Yes, always.
Neat.
I don't touch tablets or anything. But that me and Joe Millick for just about all those years documented the flyers around town. There's still a Tumblr page. It's called Flyers of Iowa City.tumblr.com, and there's just so many goddamn flyers, and they're all tagged by the bands, by the venue, by the artist. So yeah,
Very cool. You have an archive.
mm-hmm. And there's like we stopped that in maybe 2017 or something, and I kind of stopped trying to document them because I got it shifted away from doing flyers to doing art for bands.
So about that, what was like, what were a couple of the first bands that you did that were outside of Iowa City in terms of commissions?
Well, outside of like, people I know personally.
Yeah.
I think the first one was a design for Gate Creeper. And then shortly after that was 200 Stab Wounds with their logo and the piles cover.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't know you did that cover. I love that cover.
oh, thank you. yeah, that was just it's like colored pencil and like
I got a patch of
uh
that.
hell yeah. Yeah, that was a entirely improvised piece that was just done and that they bought. A lot of the early stuff that I did, like that Church of Disgust cover, was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Just like posted it, and someone's like, "Hey, I want it."
Now that one, it's black and white drawing, but it's on green. In terms of the cover, was that edited digitally after, or did you actually work on green paper?
That was edited after the fact.
Yeah,
Scott from Maggot Stomp owns that original now.
nice.
Uh, no, yeah, that was edited not even on Photoshop, but on it was like a photo on my phone that I used the like photo
Just the preset.
editor from my phone to
Yeah,
like change the hue and saturation, you know, made
nice.
to make it that green and yellow. And then I just screenshotted it and like put it on the computer and resized it.
Yeah, that's very cool. I didn't know about the 200 stab wounds wound, and that
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was right around beginning of COVID, but that EP just blew up.
Oh
That
yeah,
thing was huge, and then they're doing very well for themselves now too. I think
yeah.
they're on Metal Blade.
Yeah, they're on Metal Blade now.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I haven't been keeping too close a track because I listen to the I don't know. Is there more than one song out at this point for the full length?
No, it's like Tales of
Yeah,
Morbidity. Has
yeah.
old Cannibal Corpse vibes for sure.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for them. It's I think that that single sounds better than uh you know, it's just a step above their other stuff for sure. It's on another level and it's what's up.
Yeah,
Uh
they're doing great.
I love that cover too. I don't remember who did it, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, very raw. It's got a good composition too, really centered focus. Then there's some good detail on the side. I like it a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
So Gate Creeper, and do you remember roughly what year that was? Because I imagine that probably helped get a lot more commissions too, because pretty bigger name in underground.
Yeah, I want to say it was 2018. It was
Nice.
either late 2017 or early 2018.
And they just discovered you on Instagram, from what you can tell.
No, we had a like mutual friend, but Chase had been following me like way back when I was still just like doing flyers.
Very cool.
Like so like he was already a fan. So like the mutual connection is what really, you know, this is kind of similar to what Lucas was saying with, you know, just like
With like
someone
blood
else knows
incantation and
someone and
stuff.
yeah, and to mold and you know someone who knows someone and they find out about it through them and get stoked on it. So yeah, but after that it was mostly just like other than locos for a while it was mostly ready-made stuff. Like I was just pumping out a bunch of stuff and like, you know, what do you got? Well, I got, you know, what's on my page, like,
Yeah.
you know.
That's cool though. Drawing for yourself and then people liked it, so they bought it. Pretty
I
simple
mean,
business model.
that's that's still how like I wish that's how things worked. You know, just like sometimes I think I haven't had my commissions open for I don't know. It was probably like November
Mm-hmm.
when I closed them, just being like, you know, I got all this stuff I got to do. I got stuff for the distro I got to do. I got some flyers for some shows we booked, and I was just like, I can't. If I'm gonna finish everything on my commissions, and I'm just gonna take a step back, and you know, I've sold some things since then, and it's just been, you know, I draw it, and someone's like, yeah, I like that, and like, you know, I'll sell it for significantly cheaper than like a commission piece because you know, I
Right.
feel like I'm always gonna make art. I can't not draw. So
And in that
it's so
case,
much more
you're just
fun. Just
licensing, right? So you're still
yeah,
have the original that you could also sell as well if you felt inclined, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but I did just take on a commission yesterday, so I feel like there's a couple people I've been like, I'll let you know when I open them back up that I got to be like, oh, okay, like I'll do a couple things. I could use a couple bones, like, and you know, it's obviously like when that happens, it's like, okay, like this band asked me, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna work it in, you know,
Totally. Yeah, there's some artists that can be hard to say no to.
for sure.
Now, I recall, so I'm a fan of a YouTube channel called Brain Smasher, Ben Smasher. I'm part of
Hmm.
his Patreon too. I believe you did a T-shirt for him, and he's also in Iowa. Have you met him at shows or just kind of online friends, or you know,
Oh no,
BC
like
differences?
he's like a real friend that comes over and
He's a real
hangs out.
person.
You know, yeah. He's real. I assure
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
No, Ben's a great guy. I really like Ben. Last year, me and Ben and Cal from Dryad and like distro and booking and whatnot, all went to Chicago to see Molder,
Mm,
Rotted, Cryptum, and Nucleus.
very good show.
That was a great show.
Yeah. Did you meet
Rotted is
Ken
like,
there?
I did meet Ken there. Yeah, Ken is a goddamn sweetheart. Um, we got to go to his place the next day.
Yeah,
Got to see the crypt, and he
that's so cool.
made us some burgers, and you know, fed us way too many beers, and all of our necks hurt for days.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
awesome.
it was a I'm I still can't believe that it happened. You know,
That sounds like a great
Ken,
trip.
Ken is truly one of the most genuine and kind people I've ever met. Really good guy.
Yeah, I've ordered like a T-shirt from him. He like sent me like a letter just thanking me, and then I
Hmm.
actually won like a competition or a competition. It's a contest. I didn't do anything besides comment, but I actually got an original piece
Did you
of
get did you get
Mark
one of
Riddick.
the did you get a tape?
Yeah,
Like one of his like dub tapes?
no, I didn't get
Oh,
a dub tape, but I got just some other tapes that he just had extras of.
nice. Lucky.
But the Mark Riddick original, I do have
Oh
that.
yeah.
I have two Mark Riddick originals. I'm pretty proud of that. Those are awesome on copy paper.
I just
Very
have
cool.
one.
Oh, nice.
Me and Mark did a trade a while ago. Uh and have like, you know, done some kind of what do you call that? Just like mailing stuff, you know, back in pen pal style.
Yeah, that's
Mark's a
cool.
really good dude too.
Oh, totally.
He's one. I mean, I don't know. You see, wearing the Riddick art hoodie.
Oh, hell yeah.
Uh, every day.
I was trying to represent you by wearing one of yours.
Oh, hell yeah. Wait, which one is that?
That's the tortured whole long sleeve, but it's
Oh,
the artwork that
nice.
you did for that.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite drawings. Like, you know, within the last like 2 years,
I
just
love
as
the
far as like
sleeve you did on it.
illustrations.
You did this
Oh, is
sleeve
that
too,
the
right? With the
monster? Is that
monster
the
truck.
monster truck? Yeah.
That thing's fucking rules.
It's
Love that, dude.
got the big old truck nuts Hank flying behind it.
Oh, I never saw that. Oh shit, you're right. They are. They're right there.
They're right there. Big
Yeah.
old truck nuts.
This stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark Riddick is definitely like one of my biggest influences. His I mean, I love it all. He's so incredibly talented, but like the early 90s stuff is no one can touch it. There is one guy that's making stuff now called Pileworm. Something Pileworm. I feel like there's some other like initials after it or something. But he has a really, like, you can tell that he's looking at this like very specific like early 90s Riddick stuff with like the exaggerations and like the line work and shadow. It's very, and like it's good. He does it really well. He's one of my kind of newer artists that I found on Instagram that are just like, man, everything this guy does is awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to look him up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. I'm blanking on his name. Phantom Slaughter from Worm. He's a huge fan of Mark Riddick's early stuff as well, and he's had a couple of them printed on shirts recently. I know Mark, himself, because I've seen a couple interviews. He's not, I think from a technical perspective, he's advanced a lot, but there is something visceral about his early stuff that, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of part of the charm of some of that demo early 90s stuff is like, it's got a really spirited amateurism that's like awesome. And I don't mean that in like a condescending way. Like it's what makes it feel so authentic.
Right.
So early Mark Riddick's an influence.
Oh yeah.
What other things kind of get you inspired? Oh, nice.
That's Compendium of Death. This is Compendium of Death. Dementia Press released it. This is 91 to 2011. And then there's also Morbid Visions,
nice.
which is it says 2016, so I think it's like through like 2012 to 2016.
Imagine that sold out, because I'm an art book collector, so I got to get that if it's not sold out.
Oh, they're both beyond sold out.
Yeah,
I feel like I see Morbid Visions pop up every once in a while.
That hardback though, man.
Yeah, they're both nice hardbacks. They were done by Dementia Press, which I think was it says Czech Republic. Just like book press, I don't know, label, what do you call that? But yeah, these are fantastic, especially the 91 to 2011. Like there's so many flyers and there's a ton of stuff in there that just like never was used for anything. Like all of the stuff that Worm later licensed that was like old unused stuff was in this book.
If we're doing show and tell, I got a recent pickup that I'm very happy about, and I was lucky to get a copy that wasn't fucking ridiculous. I got this new Ian Miller art book.
Oh wow!
So his artwork is on the Althar albums.
I'm very familiar.
But I'm a huge fan of his work. I'm going to try to draw a little more influence from it.
Have you ever looked through the Realm of Chaos Warhammer books?
Yep. He did some work with them, right?
He did a lot of work with Games Workshop.
Yeah, Games Workshop artists in like the late 90s are some of my favorite stuff, man.
I mean, early, like late 80s, early 90s, like John Blanche is like amazing, and he did some metal covers. He did God, now I'm not going to be able to fucking think of it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to try to call.
Yeah, that stuff's awesome.
Yeah, he's got some really cool record covers, but like all the John Blanche stuff for Games Workshop and Ian Miller were like very influential to like middle school me. because I was a Warhammer nerd, building them, painting them, like, you know, doing like going to the comic book shop and, you know, playing the game, like building scenery, and
that's cool, man.
All about it. But yeah, the art and that shit fucking blew my mind for sure.
Yeah, I always loved looking at it, but I never ended up playing. So I guess
it's
I'm
expensive.
a poser in that respect, but I've always loved just looking at the covers, looking through the books. And another guy from that time, or maybe it's a little later, I'm a little rough on the timelines, but a guy named Karl Kopinski. Have you ever heard of him?
Mm-mm.
So he did some Games Workshop stuff as well. You know, it fit right in the mold, but he does a lot of more sketchbook kind of stuff nowadays, kind of like Kim Jung-gi. I like a lot of that stuff too. Just really quick draws, and he, you know, a little bit's like kind of showing off too, but he'll do like drawing with both hands at the same time. It's mostly just fun, but he's a real talent for sure.
For sure. I'll have to look him up.
So I think I've seen some of your stuff in like some like of the current zines that are going around. Do you have any kind of thing to say about that? Like, I think Noxious Ruin, you had a cover on there, and have you done any other work with some zines?
Just really my own. I've done 2 like collected work zines since 2018.
Nice.
And I'm thinking about doing a printing of those where I like draw a new cover and then just like print them together. We do a zine for the distro just called Grim Tooth's Fairy Metal Things, and I did all the layout and design for that. We need to start working on the next issue of that, but kind of other things keep getting in the way. That'll happen soon, though. Other than that, like, not really. Noxious Ruin. Noxious Ruin is the, you know, it's funny when you're talking about grabbing things. One of the things I grabbed was all the Noxious Ruins, except for I don't know where the one with my cover is. I got a cover and interview and number 5, but like it's not with the other one, so that's I need to find that.
Put out a call for submissions for their newest issue.
I think it might just be. I think the deadline may have passed. I think it was like a last call. I didn't submit anything to this one. Like I said, I haven't been like working on a lot of stuff other than personal projects, just trying to like get things done. But if you're into, like, just not you personally, but I'm gonna just speak to the audience right here.
Yeah, go for it.
If you are into fucking death metal and you're not buying every issue of Noxious Ruin, you're out of your goddamn mind. This is so much fucking hard work. This dude, Brian from Noxious Ruin, puts in so much fucking blood, sweat, and tears into everything he does. And these magazines are a testament to that. They are fantastic. Every single issue, he's finding new people. Like, it's showcasing the scene of extreme metal art like nothing else does. If you are in a band and you're like, oh man, we should, like, what do you want in an artist? Like, what should we get for our cover? Flip through these. There's so much art by just the best extreme metal artists that are making stuff right now, and they're little tags at the bottom of it, and you can go on Instagram and you can hit them up and you can get whatever you want. Like, there's so much talent between the pages of these magazines. It's fucking ridiculous. I love Noxious Ruin.
What's the guy's name?
Brian.
Brian, if you're watching and you want a clip for an infomercial, I got your back. This guy will sell it for us. That's
You
awesome.
know, it's not hard to sell. It is it's a quality product, I tell you what.
Passion project for sure. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And like he does all the hard rot releases where he screen prints both sides. It like cuts out these die cut packages for cassettes that are, you know, he puts in a lot of work, and it really shows. He's doing good work, you know, for the people, for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
But I
obviously,
haven't
there's
done a
not a
lot of
ton
other
of.
like zine stuff, you know, like just like zine submissions or like
Yeah.
I'm not that passionate about it. Like I don't really want to like draw something for free for someone else to sell. I realize that like it's not like, you know, I'm just not too into the like, oh, do you want to do something original for my little black and white copy paste scene? And it's like, I don't know. Like I got shit to do, you know.
Yeah. I feel you. Actually,
But I
that
love zines. I love zine culture. I collect them. I buy a lot of zines. I support them. Like, but I don't really like do much like at least like submission to other zines other than Noxious Ruin.
yeah. Well, you want to talk about maybe some bands or CDs that you picked up recently?
Uh, yeah, I didn't do that when I went and got stuff. I went and got books and stuff, and not
Oh, that's cool. Maybe just name out.
could I show some other like art stuff, you know,
Totally.
like uh
Mind if
so
I blow you
one,
up and make you bigger?
yeah,
That way
it's
people
cool.
can see it better. Let me see if this will work out.
One thing that I'm
Sorry, I'm forgetting how to do this again. There we go.
yeah. So one thing that I've been trying to like collect and get more into is I feel like that there's this really interesting crossover in the early 90s of comic books and extreme metal.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been slowly picking up a lot of Brad Moore's comic book work.
Oh, nice.
Like yeah, now it's all. This is Bathory. This is his only full book title. But there's lots of you know, weird, extreme, like mature reader comics that were happening in the early 90s that he was very involved in. Here's another one called Necrotica.
Brad Moore as well.
The cover is, and he, like the other ones, he either has like a story or like splash pages in. Yeah, this is issue 0 of Cadaver. I feel like Chopping Heads zine just did a issue that has a Brad Moore interview, and they use the art from Cadaver kind of color enhanced as the cover.
Nice.
Cadaver was actually banned as obscene in Canada and maybe the UK too. There's it's pretty extreme, you know. You think about like a lot of the, you know, comics that Brad Moore was doing work in had a like very thematically like Cannibal Corpse lyrics. Like there's some fucked up shit for sure. There's this one called Torture Dissection.
That's cool.
That's I don't know. The comic's all right, but man, there's like ads for just like the most death metal like versions of their comic book shirts. Shit's crazy. But the cool thing about this one, Mark Riddick sent me this, is the back cover is a Mark Riddick splash page for the comic.
That's sick. Love
I feel
that
like,
like elongated looking skeleton at the top there, from what I could tell.
yeah. And you know, I feel like it's pretty wild. There's a lot of like this early Riddick stuff. Like when this was from 96, so this wasn't even that early. Uh but like before I even saw it, I was like doing kind of similar like uh you know, sectioned abstractions where everything's connected.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw this and I was like, what the fuck? Like how am I ripping off Mark Riddick and I didn't even like know that this work existed.
I can see what you're talking about though.
Yeah, like the piece that I just did for Snet, or
Mm-hmm.
there's one that I did for Rotted that's kind of similar to that kind of style. But you know, also got a bunch of Dead World, which is Vincent Locke, who did
Oh
the
yeah.
of Cannibal Corpse
I've never
fame, you
seen
know.
that. Yeah, oh yeah.
He started through Dead World. I mean, he did some other like comic book illustration before, but this is his. Like The Walking Dead is just like a fucking ripoff of Dead World, straight up. It's like zombie apocalypse, like fucked up shit between like, you know, the survivors, you know, against each other slash trying to kill, but like the zombies are like there's different levels of intelligence to them. But
Hmm.
man, the fucking like the Vince Locke just like black and white illustrations. I mean, on top of the color covers are insane. His just like his hatching is I don't know, both dense and fluid. Yeah, I don't know. My camera sucks. But
Yeah,
just
that's really
if
good.
just if you've never seen it before and you're interested in black and white illustration and like his, you know, paintings for the Cannibal Corpse covers, look up Dead World. His illustrations are insane.
Now, some of those comics and stuff, like, do they, fetch a pretty high price tag nowadays, or can you get them fairly easily?
Uh you know, there's some like this tortured dissection. I'd never even heard of it. Like there's some stuff that like, you know, they were kind of indie released and uh ran in relatively small printings compared to like, you know, a Spawn or like a Marvel thing, you know, they're where
Right.
they're making thousands and thousands of them. So you, it's surprisingly no, they're not. Like maybe the Cadaver Zero was the one I paid the most for, and
Yeah.
that's because these ones are rarer because so many were destroyed at customs because they were obscene material.
Yeah. Wow.
But like I don't think I spent more than like, you know, $8 on any of those Dead Worlds.
Nice.
Any of the other like Brad Moore comics, you can find them on eBay for, you know, $4-5 a piece plus shipping. It's more just knowing like it won't say like it's harder to just type in Brad Moore comic because
Right.
maybe like some will come up, but if you know the name of the comics, it's like there's a bunch of them on there for dirt cheap for sure. Like this Barbaric Tales or Tipper Gore's comics and stories. Uh, uh, yeah, they're super cheap, and like, you know, they have other work in them that's just as awesome that you've like never of artists you probably never heard of before unless you're like looking into, you know, underground comics of the time.
Yeah. I think my knowledge is fairly surface level of stuff, but I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
me, stuff artists that did some comic work that I like a lot, Bernie Wrightson and Frank Frazetta, like just kind of the classics.
For sure. But it's like, I feel like nobody's like read these. Everyone loves Brad Moore. Brad Moore is like one of the most talented individuals in art. Like, his work blows my mind every time I see it. I don't care how many times I've seen it. I always find something new. Like, the colors look weird because of the way he like layers these acrylic inks, and like, man, he is so talented. But like, you know, he used to make just like crazy underground comics, like bloody, gory, like illustration stuff, like working with duotone, so like to kind of add the like bitmap dots, but like manually, the old school way. Yeah, I love Brad Moore. He's like, I feel like he's someone that like, his work makes me strive to try to make something original.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
You can't mistake his art for anyone else. Like, he is very much his own artist, which is so awesome.
Totally. He's one of my absolute favorites for sure.
Nice.
I can't see, but I got on a Brad Moore shirt. Oh, shit. Shit. Yeah, let's see. This is a self-portrait from the back of one of those comics.
Oh, wow.
It's Brad Moore.
Where the hell did you get that?
I made it.
Oh, you made it? Oh.
Yeah, I screen printed it. And the bottom says pain is funny.
Sick, man.
Yeah, I screen print. I do all, like, I print most of the shirts for Dryad. I print shirts for you know, lot of bands just like around town. Yeah, every once in a while, just make something for myself. I sent one to Brad too. He's got one.
He's okay with you bootlegging it.
Well, it's not for sale. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just joking.
He even told me I could officially sell them, but I've never done it. Maybe one day.
Yeah. That Dryad album that just came out, man, I was amazed when you said they've been around for 6 years because I haven't heard of them, but I really love that new album. I was just
really, it's
running
me
earlier.
Me too. Like, I'm really excited for it. I love running that band, and you know what? They work really hard, and they've been working really hard for a number of years. So I'm you know, they've gone on tours. They've you know, had a couple releases, and they've just been they've been working hard for a while now, and I'm so stoked that like all these people are now just like, oh, what's this Dryad band? It's like, yeah, dude, they rule.
Yeah. No,
I've done
cool seeing them at the top of Bandcamp charts.
What's up?
It's cool seeing them like at the top of the Bandcamp charts, you know, because I'll just try to find new bands by it, and they're right at the top. They've been at the top for like the last couple of weeks, so it always reminds me to go back and listen to it.
Sick. Yeah. Yeah, that I started that cover in 2019. I shit you not.
I saw Instagram post because I was looking for some pictures for the critique that we're going to do soon, or not critique, but just like kind of talking about your stuff. And I was like, wow, yeah, he has been working on this for like over 2 years. It's nuts.
Yeah, well, here's what happened. I started it, and I finished half of it. Like, what, you know, the original idea, I don't know, do you want to pull it up on the screen?
Sure.
I feel like it will work better than trying to show the original. So the right half, it was originally supposed to be like no logo, no information. It was going to be not like gatefold, but a gatefold image just printed on the jacket. like the original idea was it was like that was going to be the jacket. You know, the right half is the front and the left half is the back, and then it was going to have an obi strip with like the logo and the like album name and like the song tracks and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, over years things change.
Yeah.
So like the actual record has, like, if you buy the vinyl, there's a like 11 by 17 like poster of the whole art that comes inside of it. But yeah, I started in 2019 on, and I finished the right half, which was going to be the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And then January 2020, yeah, it was like around then was fucking COVID and everything shut down. And a little bit into that, I was like, I don't like this anymore. And so I spent about a year procrastinating and trying to convince them to let me do something else. And I even like had like some other sketches like done and like things I was more excited about, either like composition wise. Like it was all kind of the same idea. I was just like, I don't like the longer it went from when I started it to when I finished it, I just like added up all of these reasons why I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And it finally just got to a point where they're like, we need it done. Just finish it. And I, you know, spent about a week working 4 to 8 hours a day. And I just finished the other back half.
Push through.
Yeah. And, you know, at this point, I'm glad I did. I think that, you know, I did some things that made me like it more by the end, but yeah, it was definitely a quite the process, because there was so long where I was just like, I don't want to finish this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it anymore. I can do better. Like, especially when, like, you know, I started in 2019 and I feel like I did a lot of stuff between then and finishing it where I was like, I can like make stronger work now. Like, you'll have a better cover than if I just finish this and I have to match the style that I already like started with. But yeah, push through, and you know, now I'm glad I did. I'm once again happy with it. So yeah,
such a journey sometimes with the pieces you create, because there's always that point where you're like, at the beginning you're like, oh, I like these sketches, I think this has a lot of potential. Then you're like midway and you're realizing what the reality will be when it's getting closer to the end, and then you get to about the 80 to 90% mark and you're like, let's finish this out, do some rendering, and I think we're going to be okay with it. And then you got to put it away for a while.
So that entire drawing is with a 003
Micron.
No, Le Pen.
Oh, okay.
The Le Pen drawing.
Huh.
And you know these?
No, I've never used them. I've just done the Microns, and I have what else? Tombow brush pen I like.
Hate Microns.
Yeah.
They're the nibs are too sensitive. I feel like they're either just like wearing down or like bending before like I get the full use out of the ink in the pen.
I know exactly what you mean.
Where Le Pen are much more durable. I mean, there's I use quite a few different pens, but like this is the smallest pen nib that I can buy at the art store here. I mean, I think pretty generally that's like the smallest that I've seen like illustration pens go.
Is it pretty comparable besides a more durable nib?
I find that the ink, if you use pencils and erase, stays darker better. I feel like when I'm using microns and if I have a bunch of pencils under there and I erase them, that the micron turns like gray and doesn't stay black like I want it to. I feel like that kind of leads sometimes to when the drawing is scanned, the lines don't like contrast as sharp.
Right.
That's why I don't like microns. But I use let me grab my pens really quick. They're totally. Arm's length away. I spent all this time and grabbed all this stuff, and I feel like I'm just like, oh, I forgot this.
It's all good.
There's these Derwent line markers.
Okay.
I like these a lot. I just feel like
Here,
the
while
nib.
You're showing, I'm gonna pull you up.
Oh yeah.
I swear I can't do this program right. Okay.
Yeah, these Derwent line markers.
I have some other Derwent products.
The nibs on them are super durable. And I like the long lead of the barrel, the metal barrel before the nib. It makes it much more durable, and I get a little bit more. I mean, I draw small. I draw real small, so those and these Statler pigment liners.
Okay, I'm familiar with those.
These are super durable too. Both the Dewert and the Stedler. I feel like they just last until there's no more ink in the pen every time. I feel like whenever I buy microns, they get fucked before I'm there's still ink in them. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I also have been I just found these 05 Sharpie rollers, which I hadn't seen before. I found that at Target. Sharpie roller, and it's got a pretty fine tip, and it's straight up just permanent ink in a a little ballpoint roller, like a tiny one, and they're super smooth. I really like the lines they get, but they're just a little too big for how small I usually draw. This would be a big thick outline pen, But most of the time this is the size.
Oh wow.
That I draw. This is 6x8 is the paper. But drawings are way smaller. That bottom one, that's the final 200 stab wounds logo.
You're kidding me.
Wow. This is 2 inches by an inch wide,
That's insane.
That's most of the things I draw are that's 3 by 4 or something.
So is that your sketchbook there then?
This is an old one. My newest sketchbooks in my jacket, but they're sized so they fit in my inner pocket of my winter jacket, and I can just take them with me. I hang out at this bar that we book a lot of shows at called Gabe's. Play a lot of darts. Probably spend a little bit too much time playing darts and instead of drawing. But I can get off work and just walk down the block and sit at the bar and pull this out of my pocket and pull my, pen pouch out of the other pocket and just sit there and draw. Yeah. Or I can just sit on the couch and,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the only reason why I like drawing small, is because it's super portable. I don't need to like carry a backpack or, yeah.
So are you particular about the paper that you use at all, or not really?
No, I mean, both of these are just like bullshit. Like I don't even know. Like this one's pretty old. I don't even know if it's like, it says artist's loft sketchbook. I suppose now I usually try to buy just like acid-free paper so that it's archival.
Right.
If I do something I'm really proud of, I have like an archival piece of like finished piece of art. If I wanted to frame it or sell it, it's like not going to like disintegrate in 50 years, 100 years or whatever. But other than that, like, something just like, flat, hard paper. I don't know anything about like, yeah.
Oh, I know what you mean. I'm only really particular with paper if I'm going to be painting on it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter quite as much.
See, I'd like to play around with some watercolors.
That's my primary medium nowadays.
I don't know what I need. Like what kind of paper would be good to work on. You know what I mean? But,
recommendations?
We have a pretty good art store here. And I know a lot of the people that work there. So
yeah.
if I don't know something, usually I can just be like, hey, I want to do a watercolor. What should I get? And they'll be like, here's this, and this. There, But yeah, I mean, like if you want to like send me a message later about some watercolor paper recommendations, that'd be really cool too. It's something that I want to mess with, but it's hard to find time to just like make something just to like
experiment with a
new medium. Yeah. Because I mean, I've done some watercolor stuff in the past, but if a band was like, I was like, well, what if I did a watercolor? They'd be like, well, do you have any? Have you done that like for metal stuff?
Right.
I'd be like, I don't have anything to show for it. That's kind of how the sculpture stuff started too.
Yeah, I was curious about that. Here's my 1 minute take on watercolor. So, cool. First things is, as a medium, and maybe I'm putting some of this on people, but I think sometimes people underestimate what watercolor can do. And again, it gets a bad rap for like, kind of like old ladies painting, flowers and shit. Like, it's a great medium, but it is how you use it. In terms of surface, paper is more important than any other medium I've had to work with. So I personally use Arch's hot press or cold press, but that is expensive paper. But it matters because, like, it's so unforgiving as a medium. If you do one wash on it and then you do an extra one and an extra one, if you don't have a really durable paper, it's going to start really warping really easily.
Right.
But those are the paper brand I recommend is Arches, and that's pretty common. And really a lot of like tattoo artists use Arches for their paintings, which they do, before they do a piece. A lot of times they'll basically paint it and they'll be like, hey, who wants this tattooed on their back? All right. So that's a really common thing. I've picked up a lot of techniques from like tattoo painters, basically. Like that's a big inspiration for me.
For sure.
But cool. You want to bring up some artworks? So we already talked about Dryad. You want to talk about some other ones too?
I don't know. Yeah, is there something you wanted to talk about?
I'm looking at questions here.
Do you want to talk about that Sanguisugabogg cover?
Yeah, so that's one of these here. Let me bring you
I
back
think it's the
here.
next one.
There we go. So yeah, tell me a little bit about this.
So I mean, that's all I did for this one is I did the illustration. They bought the illustration and then someone else colored it and did the background with the kind of shattered spirals or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was just like they did that. So I did that illustration in 2018.
Okay.
And that was white ink on black paper.
Really? Okay.
No pencils. No plan. Just started until it was done.
So white ink on black paper. So what kind of white ink are you using?
Let's see if I have one here. I think I do. I use YNC Gel Extreme.
Okay. Do you work like that pretty commonly? Oh, I use those as well. Those are actually some of the better white gel pens.
This is the only one that I found that you can put down and then work with a nib pen on top of. My problem with most white pens is that if I want to like go back in and like work in some like hatching or details in the white space, that it's too like goopy. And for the fine nib pens that I use, they just like kind of drag in it, or like you gotta constantly like kind of clean the white ink off of the black nib, like it gets like clogged in it. But I think that these YNC Gel Extremes are really good for that. It's like really easier than any other white ink that I've had to like go down and then like work over. That's pretty much the only reason I use those. But yeah, these are great. I don't really ever use white ink for, like, I don't do like a black ink pen illustration and then like go back and like highlights or whatever.
Right.
Or like, you know, I'll see some people do kind of like space stuff by just like sharpieing everything black and then going back with like a gel pen to kind of add that stuff in. Yeah, I never really use white ink over black ink, but these work well for using black ink, like especially like an illustration nib style pen over the white ink. Yeah, and if I'm working on black paper, I mean, you can't really pencil.
Right.
Because if you did do like some penciling, or at least I found with these, and you try to erase that pencil, this shit's gonna lift or it's gonna smear. And so yeah, I mean that illustration was completely improvised from start to finish. Like there was no plan, there was no like thumbnail sketch or anything. It's just it started and it stopped. That one's kind of big too. I ended up giving that to a friend for Christmas years ago. Even like that wasn't even, you know, that was just an improvisation that was sitting around. And when it came to releasing Tortured Whole, they bought that image like a week before the album was announced and the album was showed.
Nice.
It's just something that was like sitting on my page forever. And they're like, we need something now. What do you got? And I was like, I got this. They're like, perfect. Yeah.
So how often do you work on the black paper versus just like a traditional white paper?
It's been a while. And that is mostly, I grabbed one of those, also small. You know, like the whole notepad is like about the size of the pen.
Right.
A lot of these, this stuff was done in 2018, and then I did some more stuff like it in 2020 or so. And there's like just that Undeath just put a new hoodie in their Holy Mountain store of a piece that was like kind of like that it was started you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I used a different white pen I got lazy to fill in this big section, and I ended up having to scan it and then print it out so I could like work the black on top of it, you know?
Right.
Because the nib was just fucking dragging in the white ink.
It's just a little too heavy.
I can't work on top of this like whatever other brand gel pen I was using. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of that Brain Smasher logo was all white pen.
Nice. It's always so cool to see these things in the original form. You lose something a little bit digitally.
I haven't done a white ink on black paper drawing in a hot minute. I just bought a new one of these YNC white gel pens because I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And
yeah,
I just haven't really, you know. I feel like I played around with something about a month or two ago, and it's fun. Like I do a lot of, or I guess I used to. Most of my work was improvised.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it still is. Like if I'm penciling something, I'm like gesturing, like where things are and their proportions, and not like I don't like pencil all the details and then like ink my pencils. If I pencil, it's like, you know, here's a leg, here's a horizon, like here's a couple gravestones or like a tree in the background, you know. Or if there's like something I want in there that is a more like difficult form,
Mm-hmm.
I'll like, you know, maybe spend a little bit more time on that to make sure it looks like what I want it to look like. But yeah, most of the time things are just I put my ink pen on the page, you know.
Yeah.
More recently I've been doing more penciling, more gesturing to like, you know, block out an idea before I start, and especially doing more commissions. Like I feel like penciling things and penciling them more just you know, when you're doing something for someone else, it sucks when, you know, they kind of understand how you work and you tell them how you work,
right,
and then they want like a bunch of edits after it's inked,
right, and it's too late.
and
You got to do it again. A lot of people.
you know, in this digital world, I feel like so many people, you know, nowadays work on a tablet. They can literally like fucking rewind their actions to the start in Procreate or whatever, where like I'm making a physical object. It's ink on paper. It's permanent. Like if I have to edit that, I'm going to like draw on another piece of paper and like cut and paste it, and like, you know, like it's so much work to go back and edit a physical piece of art.
Yeah.
So I feel like I got more into penciling things just so that it's more like, this is what I'm going to do.
So you convey the idea and send over the sketch, and they approve it. Then there's less edits down the road.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Ready to go to the next one?
Yeah. What else is here?
So we got some sculptures. I want to hear about this.
Oh yeah, sculpture is actually green.
Here, let me pull you up here. Oh, wow.
You know, and it's small. But yeah, it's I painted it green, and then that's just you know, color editing in Photoshop. Little world.
I feel like your Warhammer and that kind of stuff from your, you know, teenage years kind of carried over into the sculpture interest, or?
For sure. And like when I was first starting to play around with the sculpture stuff, I was like getting way inspired by like the Instagram community of the like kit bashing and custom sculpted Warhammer figure like artists.
Mm-hmm.
And still am. Like, I love the, like, I'm still very interested in the hobby, but I don't participate. You know what I mean? I just, like, follow so many people that do it. Like, I find it so inspiring. But especially, yeah, just, like, the dark worlds that the people that are, like, making their own stuff create is really cool. So yeah, that kind of started me back into sculpting. It was a combination of that and like becoming really interested in practical effects in horror movies. And you know, like guys like Tom Savini or Rob Bottin or Rick Baker, you know, Tom Savini is one of the greatest, and he's like he considers himself a magician, not a effects artist, because it's like you're bringing something that didn't happen. You're like fooling people with
yeah, it's an interesting point.
You know, a combination of sculpture and application and makeup and you know, hiding blood pumps and stuff like that. Like, also was getting really interested in like latex mask making, which I still haven't dived into, but would really like to at some point. Yeah, so like I feel like all of that stuff kind of culminated to the point of the Seep full-length cover for Hymns to the Gore, which is a lot of, you know, like gore sculptures.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So,
I wish my camera wasn't
if you already
shitty.
said it, but what materials are you using primarily to create these?
Sculpey.
Sculpey, okay.
Like the clay is Sculpey. It's like it's oven bake clay.
Got it.
Like this is you know, the base is just aluminum foil as a form, and then I put the clay around that, and yeah, bake it in the oven, paint it with acrylic paint. For the Seep one, I got a bunch of like Hollywood quality fake blood, and everything is still like sticky. Everything that I didn't leave at the abandoned house where we took the picture.
I didn't even know that was a sculpture. I'll have to take a look at it.
Really? Now. Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is like a bunch of sculptural elements. And my friend knew of an abandoned house outside of town in the woods. And so we crawled into a hole in the wall and set it all up in the kitchen and took the pic.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to look at it with fresh eyes. That's very cool. So do you find do you expect that in like 2023 you'll spend more time sculpting, or do you think you're going to do a lot more like pen and ink work?
I don't know. You know, I really like doing the sculpture. It's very time consuming. compared to my illustrative work, like I could do like 4 or 5 like highly detailed t-shirt illustrations, like that Sugabogg shirt you're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
In the time it took me to make like that Noxious Ruin cover, that was like 2.5 months of like pretty regularly working on it.
Wow.
That's also kind of big. It's like almost like the actual size of the magazine. The original sculpture is kind of like relief style, like a slab.
Right.
I wish I had it, but I sold the original to Brian from Noxious Ruin.
Oh, nice.
I have the logo was separate. I have the logo around here somewhere. But yeah, the logo was sculpted too, and then just like overlaid on the cover there. But
then,
there's actually some.
as well.
What's that?
Just say volume 5 there in the corner.
So Brian made the volume 5 by photoshopping and manipulating the Noxious Ruin logo. It's like stitched together. Because I did something else for the volume 5, and he's like, well, it's like kind of a contrast, like, and I was like, yeah, but that's why I like it. And he ended up going with that. But you know, talking about Warhammer, in the on the back cover, there's like pit in the bottom left hand corner. That's a bunch of skulls, and those are just like straight up Warhammer, like box of skulls, you know. So there's that, and I feel like there's another sculptural piece I did that like I used like zombie heads and skulls in like this mess of kind of organic pattern. And yeah, so like at least in like some of those the earlier sculpture stuff, and then that Noxious, that was the last sculpture thing I did, like actually using Warhammer bits. So there is a direct connection for sure.
Well, that's cool. Now the I mentioned those questions I sent you over, but you have a way of like drawing skulls and like the eyes. Is that something that just kind of became natural for you, or like, I don't know, I was just kind of curious if there's any kind of story around that.
Not really. You know, earlier you mentioned that you could see my work and just be like, oh, like that makes sense. That's a Nightmare Imagery piece.
Totally.
And so I feel like part of that is kind of the repetition of that shape of like the eyes. And you can like even see it in, I mean, there's the big floating skull with the brains going up and the threads going down on the back of the Noxious Ruin magazine. But even if you just look over at the sculpture next to it, it totally has like that repetition of those same like kind of curved peaks as the eye shape. I feel like it's I suppose that's why I do it. I you know, I don't think I ever drew a skull like that until I just did one day, and I was like, this is sick. This looks evil. Like and you know, it's a kind of a signature to the style.
Yeah.
Just to just throw it in there, even if like, you know, there's just like a fucking skull on the ground or something, just have it be like that kind of skull. And I feel like the thing that's kind of made that grow is like mixing that type of skull with just regular skulls too, or like rotting zombie heads, like within the same composition.
Right. It makes it almost more like a character in a way, in a cool way.
Yeah, totally. And like you know, I've you know, Lucas said this too, but like, man, Pusshead was like so incredibly influential, like to me. And it's the same thing with Pusshead. You see a Pusshead piece and you see those like bandages, like mummy bandages on something, and you see the fucking 2 like vampire teeth you're just like, oh, this is Pusshead. Like it's in just about everything he makes. It's a signature, you know. And I always really liked that. I mean, his body of work was very influential to middle school and high school me for sure. So I guess I've since I started doing commissions more seriously, maybe like 20, late 2017 or 2018, I feel like I was looking for kind of that, like something that I thought was cool that was easy to incorporate across, the work.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. It's like a little mix of accidental and intentional, which is often how styles comes from. All right, so this next one is Infested, Grotesque Remains, and this was on Sewer Rot Records. And I believe these guys were in Coffinized before, but this is like the new band after.
Yeah, Chris, who does vocals and plays guitar, was the guitarist and vocalist in Coffinized.
Cool.
And then that project came to an end, and they started this with other band members. It's just like him, his new band. Infested rule too. They're so good.
Yeah.
Really grotesque old school death metal. I really like a lot of the things that they're doing with Sewer Rot Records too. So I was excited when
too.
Yeah, they've been doing some. They just did that More to Scold reissue, which rules. And I'm not as into like brutal or like slamming kind of stuff, but I feel like that intestine ballism that they did, and then they're doing again. They did another like kind of brutal, old school brutal reissue.
Yeah, I snagged that intestine balsam right when it came out because I figured it'd be picked up pretty quick because it's pretty expensive to get an original copy.
Oh, for sure. You know who I'm really stoked on as far as reissues is is it Huang Quan? That's that Chinese label. You're not familiar?
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
Oh man, they're doing the Dark Lord's work. They're putting out like so much good shit. One of my favorite things that they reissued last year was that Organic Infest. Speaking of Brad Moore did the cover of that.
Oh, okay.
That album's awesome. But I mean, they're just like pumping out reissues like left and right, and it's all solid. It's ridiculous. I feel like Gurgling Gore has been getting a lot of their titles. Goat Throne and Caligari and Life After Death, they all have like a bunch of their stuff in their distros.
Yeah, Life After Death, that's just like Ohio, so it's pretty cheap shipping for me.
For sure.
Check it out. So with this one, I recall on your Instagram post you said you didn't use any pencils. So another kind of improvisational, or how'd this go?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely given a prompt for this, with the theme of the band, like especially at the start, it was very The Thing, Alien. As far as like it's sci-fi death metal was thematically, and so they were like wanted something like a crazy The Thing, Alien, but like it in like an alien world. I feel like there's something weird about this version. Like there's like maybe part of it's like transparent or something, but there's part of the left side of the image is towards the top is not there.
Oh, sorry if I picked a bad pick there. Looks kind of like a cassette cover.
For sure. Yeah, I was stoked on that release. I really like that band. But yeah, it was it was kind of a thing where they gave me a prompt, and I was like, cool, I'll send you pencils when, I got like an idea down. And I kind of just like got on a roll with an idea once I started it, just like in ink. And I think that drawing was probably like 7-8 hours, just like working pretty straight through in one day.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, I got on a roll, do you like it? If not, you could use it for something else. You don't have to use it at all. I didn't send you pencils, just I got on a roll. Do you like it? And they were like, fuck yeah. They were all about it. So
it's a perfect commission.
Yeah, Chris from Sewer Rot and Infested is I've been talking with him just like through Instagram for a while before this, and I admired his work and he admired mine, so it was a pretty good fit.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, and then this is the last one. I want to talk a little bit about this painting. I have a couple process picks here.
Yeah, that's
I'll let you take the reins.
only painting. I haven't done another one.
Oh,
that took I mean, I've done other paintings, but not for a band, not a commission.
Right.
And I did this thinking, I'll try it, and if I have a good time doing it, I could maybe move away from illustration and more into painting. But I did not have a good time doing it. And I feel like this is a good one too, to bring up in contrast to some of the other work, because this isn't even all of the process. This is like the pencil on the canvas, and then kind of just like some progress pics as I went. Unlike just about anything else, this had 2 pencil drawings. There's a thumbnail sketch that I did at first to like get their approval on the like concept and composition, and then I did a larger, more detailed value drawing to figure out the kind of some of the perspective stuff, like with
right. I just map it all out.
Yeah, because I feel like this was the first time almost the last time that I think I like executed some like perspective in the space all right. I mean, there's a lot of problems with the lighting and the perspective, just like technically, but I don't think those things really matter. It's more that it's like an interesting thing to look at than it's like,
yeah, realistic.
Yeah,
totally.
Or abides to the rules of classical art, as the things should be. But yeah, I mean, that painting took a long fucking time. I don't even remember how long. That one started off weird because I actually convinced them to let me do a painting.
So
I had nothing. I don't, like I said, I didn't have a painting. I had nothing to show to be like, I can do it. I'd done some painting in college and learned some of the basics, but like maybe had done like a big painting and a small painting in like the 10 years between college and painting this, and this was for Cryptum. This was also on Sewer Rot, but they're from Chicago, and they played that show that I was saying me and Ben and Cal went to with Rod and Mulder, and they were awesome live. I don't know. I haven't like heard anything from them. When they played that show, they played a bunch of new material that like wasn't on this demo, and it was awesome. Like I don't know. I wonder. I feel like Aaron from maybe even if it wasn't Aaron, someone else, someone's in Molder that is also in Cryptum, and I feel like they didn't. Molder's kind of taken off. They just had that new album on Prosthetic, and it
Right.
rules. They're going to be doing a bunch of touring. So I don't know. I would guess that Cryptum's kind of on the back burner, but like that band's really good, and I feel like they don't get them enough attention. And they obviously have a bunch of songs that like people need to hear. I don't know if they're recorded though. I should hit those dudes up sometime, see how they're doing. But yeah, they asked me to do a cover, and I was like, well, what if I did a painting?
Yeah.
They're like, can you paint? And I was like, probably. They took a chance on me, and it was. I'm glad I did it, mostly because it got it out of my system.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to do another painting, but like, not right now.
Yeah. Do you think it might be more tempting if it wasn't a commission, you did it just for yourself?
Probably.
Yeah.
Just that there wouldn't be, but you know what I mean? Like this took so long, like 2 months or something, where like I wasn't working on anything else. If I had some spare time to work on art, I was working on this.
Right. And it's also quite a bit bigger too. So was it a little less comfortable working on? Yeah, let me pull you up.
I think it's 16 by 16. Maybe it's either 16 or 18 square. Yeah, it'd be nice if I had a nicer built-in camera, but this is all fuzzy.
That's what we got.
What are you gonna do?
For.
Yeah, for sure.
But did you like paint that in like on the couch, just like kind of how you have been, or did you get it like a different area for it?
I have a large drafting table that I use for printmaking.
Oh, okay.
In the basement, and at the time it was in my room, and I would sit there and paint for sure. I can't just hold it, like I have to have like an easel or like a table or something if I'm gonna work on something that size.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it, but like honestly, I wish if I could have done things differently, and if I do another painting, next time I'm gonna work on wood.
Okay.
And I'm gonna work larger. Because I felt most of my difficulties came in, I don't know, I just like want to work everything small. I want to work a bunch of detail in, and like, man, especially for not painting in a really long time and then trying to do that, like it was just a nightmare. Like I kept just like, how do I, like I need to buy a new brush. These brushes all suck. Like I can't get small enough, and then I'd get something and it'd be too small, or like I don't know. I just like, I didn't know a lot about painting, and so I felt like I was running into lots of roadblocks of just like technical things that, if I did it again, I don't think I'd have as hard a time. But
yeah, sounds like you
part of that I think would be
stab.
Part of that I think would be working larger. Yeah.
Cool. I appreciate you giving me some insight on how you created those pieces, and then for anybody watching, I'm sure they found it pretty interesting too. In terms of this talk, I just had one more question, at least on my mind, but I have time. But I was just kind of curious, what would be like one piece of advice you'd give to any aspiring artists who want to get involved in like the music or metal scene?
Draw, like do, and like if you're doing it and it's not like in absolute passion and it's not something, I get it. Like I don't know, everyone thinks that to be good you have to have all of this long list of technical skills, that you need training, that you need anything. Like, there's so much great art, especially metal art, that it's not good technical drawing. It's visceral, and it's or abstract, or like I said, the first thing you gotta do, you gotta draw. You gotta draw all the time. And it's, you know, I've got a lot of people that have asked me, like, how do I get into drawing? Like, what do I need to, like, learn? Are there any, like, videos that I should, like, watch to learn this or that? And it's just like, just draw, scribble, like, draw mindlessly. Just like, you don't have to be technically good to make art, and not all good art is technically good. I think that that's really good advice. And I think a lot of people that, like, you know, I hate people being like, oh, I love that you draw, you're so creative, I wish I could draw, I can't draw. And it's like, bullshit. You can draw. Everyone can draw. It's drawing is technically it's making a line on a piece, on a plane, you know?
Yeah.
It's all you got to do is do it, and you got to do it all the time. If you're not and, you know, if you try and you can't do it all the time, maybe you just, like, don't have that in you. You know what I mean? Like, I can't not draw.
Right.
I'm gonna draw. I'm gonna draw for the rest of my goddamn life, and I don't care if it ever gets used for anything again, because I'm gonna make it. And it's cool that, like, you know, if you make a bunch of stuff, someone's gonna like it. You know, someone will want to use it. If you want to get into things, don't go cold calling bands, being like, here's this thing I drew, buy it. Do you want to use it? Just put a bunch of stuff up, and keep putting stuff up. Keep drawing, keep sharing. And, you know, the more you do it, the better you'll get. And if you keep doing it, someone will pay attention, you know? Someone will find you. And, I mean, you know, Instagram's a wonderful place. That's how I do everything. So how I do all my communication. That's how just about every thing my art's ever been used for, it's been through there, you know? It's it can be a wonderful community. And I know a lot of amazing artists that I've got to know through Instagram. You know, other than, like, you know, seeing most of them in Noxious Ruin, like, there's never been quite a hub for just about whatever community you could possibly want to be a part of.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head on the other point, besides just draw and just do it and nobody's good immediately, is the fact that you got really involved in your local scene and you met people and, like, networked, but did it from an authentic place. And I think that's something that I'm hearing through this conversation that I want to keep getting better at as well. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, going to shows, you know, finding bands you like, and making connections, you know, like it's easy to do here in Iowa City because the town is so small.
Right.
That, like, you know, if you have like interests with other creative people, it's pretty easy to be like, hey, you're pretty cool. You want to hang out? You know, like, let's drink a beer. Yeah, I could see how that could be incredibly intimidating in a large town and a large scene.
I see the same people at every show, though, and I meet them over time, but it is still awkward, you know, just sometimes going up to be like, hey, I've seen like the last 50 shows. My name's Lee. You know,
for sure.
Like, you know, it's kind of what you got to do, though. So,
yeah. Yeah,
Man,
just
it's been
put yourself out there.
yeah. Well,
I
it's been
feel
great
like there
talking to
was.
you.
Can I
Yeah, go ahead.
bring something else up? I feel like there was something else on my notes.
Yeah.
There was another question of favorite artists currently.
Yeah, please.
And I got a bunch of shout outs. There's a bunch of people that I think are doing really great work, and if you like what I do, you should go and look these guys up if you're not familiar with them. You know, obviously already talked about Mark Riddick, Brad Moore, also Chris Moyen, who is like, as far as like early extreme metal black and white illustration, he is unrivaled. He's not on social media. He has a website where he still posts new work. I feel like I saw a new book, like art book teased is coming soon on his website, which I need to look back up because it's been a minute now. But yeah, there's so many awesome people other than that. JW Hardware from Australia. He's done stuff recently for Undeath, but has done a bunch of stuff for like Gutless, also from Australia. Amazing illustrator. One of my, for a while there, my favorite contemporary artist, and I got to know him a little bit, was Spinal Chamber. Are you familiar with him? He did lots of like airbrush stuff and like kind of comic style, like black and white illustrations, but like, man, abstract, and like he had his own style and it was awesome. But he hasn't made work in a while, and like I don't know what's up with that. Another new guy from Spain, his name's Necro Helm Art. He has a couple music projects too. Troll Cave and Sanctuarium, both Death Doom. Gurgling Gores put out both of those.
Okay.
If you like Death Doom, Troll Cave and Sanctuarium are just like,
that's such a good
so
Death Doom name. Good. Troll Cave. I love that.
Yeah. It's Sanctuarium sounds a little more like Rotted or Cyanide.
Okay.
And then Troll Cave is a little more atmospheric, a little bit slower. But yeah, they're both awesome. He has other bands too. I feel like he has a solo black metal band and like a dungeon synth project, and it's just all good. But his art, Necrohelm Art, oh man, he's got just like the sickest, like I hate using the word cartoony. Right. I feel like that's a word that a lot of people use to describe some of my stuff.
Well, sometimes using a condescending tone, which isn't great.
Yeah. But I think that it's whether or not I like the term, I think that it is the best way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
And his abstractions are phenomenal. I really, really, really admire his work. Real nice guy too. There's a younger kid from California called Phenicles, Phenicles. Man, he did a Coffin Rot cover for that album on Maggot Stomp. It was a 7-inch. I feel like they did a CD of it too. Or maybe it was both. There's two different Coffin Rot covers.
His stuff I know what you're talking about though.
He's super talented. He hasn't been working doing as many commissions lately, but I think he's like he's like young. He's like in school. Okay. But he's just so incredibly talented. Tomb Tower is really good stuff. Coven Zine, fantastic illustrator. I really admire all of Ian Colazzo's work. Ian does like kind of scribbly pointillism, and like it turns into these great like
very cool.
I feel like when you look at it up close, it looks kind of messy, but then you zoom back and it's this like cosmic horror or something. Like it's really cool stuff. He also does a ton of graphic design stuff. for like
Oh, okay.
modern releases. He's done stuff for Goat Throne and Life After Death and like just about every head split release. He does all the like layout and shit for. And he's just a really nice dude. There's kind of a newer guy that came up. Have you seen Creep? Is it Creep or the Creep from 6 Feet Deep?
6 Feet Deep. That guy's on a whole nother level. That dude.
Seriously,
That
like
dude's on a
he's
whole
a
nother
super
level.
talented tattoo artist, but like
Yeah.
his like hatching and pointillism and like, I mean, it is.
You see that Ryu dragon he did? It's like a zombified Ryu dragon. That thing is
that was really
fucking
impressive.
incredible.
Yeah, mixing. Like he said the style of like crossing the worlds of his tattoo and like extreme metal illustrations. Like he is crazy.
Lucas got me on him, and I looked through like all of his Instagram shit like in 1 hour. I love it.
Yeah, but you can do it again and again and again and like zoom in and just be like, all of this is like cross-hatched, like so like they must take so long. Either that or he's just like free, like he's obviously freakishly talented, but like
his stuff,
you know, I messed with some stuff like, oh, definitely, like I mean, there's got to be just like total like complete inspiration from that style of like intricate like hatching and stuff. Like,
yeah,
maybe we should try to get him on this show. I'd listen to him talk for a while, you know.
Yeah,
then just a couple more. I really like Oozing Death Art. He's in the band Debigus, which is A+ death metal. Like,
did he
one
do
of the
those
best
covers?
Yeah, he did those like kind of collage covers too.
Yeah, those are cool.
I mean, he's done all their logos. He's done a bunch of stuff. Like look through his page. There's definitely like, you know, off the top of my head, I couldn't. I'm blanking on like some of the covers that he's done. The latest Sadistic Drive release.
Okay.
I feel like both of the Sadistic Drive covers he did, but kind of yeah, definitely old school like line work, illustration. Like a lot of his stuff looks very early 90s, you know. It rules. That, and the last one I had on my list was Parker Ewan Art, who does really like stark line. It kind of looks like if Mark Riddick was really into like EC comics.
Okay.
Where like but like, you know, kind of like not like EC covers, but like EC interior art. Like he's got some like great line work for sure. And you know, he's also got like his own style. Like you see one of the things he draws and it doesn't look like anybody else. It's really great stuff. Yeah, I feel like that kind of I feel like that maybe there were some other local bands that I'm stoked on. There's another kind of like hardcore band here in Iowa City. I don't know. There's kind of between like punk hardcore and like noisecore and grind.
Okay.
They're called Bovinophobic Bile Puddle. And they're high schoolers. I did their album cover and they fucking rule. And it's really exciting that like
next generation,
you know, yeah, like it's been a long time since like there's been kids in this town that are like excited about extreme music or like any like guitar band music, you know, like a live band, and they just rule. They're so much fun. There's a really good band that I really like out of Des Moines called Animals on LSD. That's kind of
great name.
They're kind of like dystopia, like grindcore.
Okay.
So like some really fast stuff and some like really like sludgy stuff.
That's my alley.
Yeah, and then there's a brand new black metal band that I'm really excited about that hasn't played a show yet, but they're playing next month, their first show called Necrotic Theurgist. That band's exciting because they're like all dudes that like love metal, that have lived here for a while, that haven't ever been in a metal band. You know what I mean? Like it's